Welcome to episode 59, and this evening I'm joined by Keith Williams. Keith, thank you very much for agreeing to come on to the podcast.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's I've heard a lot about you, Mickey, and I'm pleased to be doing 59.
Yeah, episode 59, yep. Never thought that this would happen, but here we are. Keith, you don't have a local accent, and I suppose for the benefit of our listeners, do you want to give yourself a wee introduction, just to who you are, where you are, and why you're on the show as such?
Absolutely. So I'm not going to try and do any accent other than my own. So I'm based out of the UK, just outside of London. I was originally an Essex person, so they used to call it an Essex boy. Not sure that resonates with many of your listeners. But soon, have I ever grown out of that? Don't know. But let's say I have grown out of being the Essex boy, and I live now in a place just outside of Hertford, in Ware, in Great Tamwell. And I'm just a wannabe endurance athlete.
Yeah, you certainly are. And you've notched up quite a few endurance events over the years. We'll come to that in a wee minute. I suppose right now, as we're speaking via the wee online app that I use, and you're in quite an exotic location as we are recording.
I am. I'm in Peguera in Mallorca, waiting and ready to go and blow myself to bits at Challenge Mallorca on Saturday.
Is this the first time you've done Peguera, or have you been there before?
It is. No, I have been here before, but it was a very different holiday when I was 18 in Magaluf in BCMs, running around the nightclub. But very, very different times and very different health goals. Let's
hope that on Saturday night you're not in quite the state you would have been on a Saturday night when you were 18 or 19, because if it's anything like the states I would have been in back then, it's maybe not worth revisiting that.
No, definitely not.
Keith, a wee special shout out just to all the guys as well. Just when you mentioned Peguera, there's a big crew of ones here from my club, Oma Club, and quite a few of the ex guests that have been on the podcast are also out there too. So a big shout out to them, and I wish you and everybody else a great event now on Saturday, and I'm sure you'll all do very well.
Yeah, and if people are listening to this after, and the people that participated, hope they had a great race and they put it all out there and they're proud of themselves.
Cool stuff. Keith, it's probably fair to say that a bit like me, you weren't always this fitness-focused endurance athlete, this fine-trimmed athlete that I'm looking at here on the screen.
You are lying there. I know you are. You're exaggerating the truth.
If I could take you back in time, where would be a good place to start to try and get a sense of who you were, Keith, before you kind of got into all this? There's always a journey, I suppose. Where does yours start?
Yeah, I've always been, was always been quite active, and I used to do judo, and I lived in a little village, so I always had to cycle everywhere to see my friends. So I've always been interested in some sort of kind of like activity, and my parents always said to me, I've got endurance and I could just kind of carry on and just keep doing walking, running, whatever it is. I just kept on going. Whereas my older brother had the sprints, but so I've always had something there, but never really did much with it. And then I realized that I needed to really start thinking about sort of like health a bit more later on as we all get a bit older. So between the ages of mid-30s up to sort of 37, that sort of age, I was, progressing my career quite well, traveling all around the world, working for a tech company and lots of long haul flights, very fast paced tech company. And I just found myself just being really overweight, traveling around all over the place, feeling really unhealthy, internally, looking not too great, and then really mentally not being fantastic either. And the whole piece was sort of, I wouldn't say crumbling, but the whole piece was just like not in a good place at all, like physically, mentally. And I remember coming back from a business trip from LA and thought I was going to have a mental breakdown on a
Hmm.
plane. It was a long haul flight, and I was just shivering, shaking. I had no clarity of thought. I was overweight, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, at 37, this is absolutely not good. And I think then um, I remembered my dad, who is no longer with us, but he passed away when he was 38 years old of cancer. So it wasn't sort of like through being unfit and like overweight and mentally not too good. It was through cancer, something very different. But it got me to realize that, when I turn that age, I want to make sure that I'm a very different version of what my dad was, and also what I was at that point as well. So I kind of like wanted to take some action, and I can talk through if you want, like how that kind of like come about, because you always need something out there to give you an opportunity to sort of like see the other side and have a big goal to aim for.
It's something that I can relate to, Keith, because one of the driving forces behind my sort of urges to change was the passing of my mother.
I'm sorry to hear.
Yeah, mum passed away 7 years ago now, with cancer. And at that point, I would have been overweight. I would have been drinking beer and having a fairly relaxed, sedentary life, not particularly interested in anything. And it's a big loss, obviously. Anyone that loses a parent will understand that. But it does ask questions, doesn't it? Like, you find yourself thinking about your own mortality, and I was thinking, I hope I don't get cancer. I hope I don't pass away in the same way that mum had to pass away. And what can I do to maybe minimize the chances of this? And lo and behold, it was all the things that I didn't do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, so it's quite similar.
It is, and I think as you get into sometimes it's not an age thing where maybe you have a different mindset, but generally my mindset or people's mindset does change as they get older or something happens. And my view was, I started to take the opinion, well, if I was to go at 38, would I be absolutely satisfied with what I've seen, done, witnessed, felt, believed, all, and impact that I've created on this earth, the people around me? Would I be satisfied with all of these things? Have I really lived the best version of what I have done? And
Hmm.
the answer was no. So I wanted to make sure I went on a path to, one, get fit and healthy, but also get to realize and unlock something inside me that gave me that inner belief to go and take on more and conquer more. So I was doing that through other personal things and work. I was very successful at work, and great opportunities there, but that's just not everything. You need to go and see things, touch things that are real. Yeah.
What was the thing that sparked your interest? What was the goal that you had initially set yourself, having sort of reflected on the guy that you had become and the person that you wanted to be? So what did you decide that you would do to try and breach that gap to become the new version?
Yeah, I think it was a sequential thing whereby I was on this plane, absolutely on in meltdown in every single way, and then I think a few days later, I sort of like then had to go to Frankfurt, and it was the Ironman, and one
Mm-hmm.
of our clients was Ironman.
Brilliant.
We was a technology company, and Ironman Worldwide used our technology. So I went to Frankfurt to meet the managing director back then, because I think it was still a licensed event, Kai Walter, and we got on very, very well. And we went out for a little run, and he said, "Do you want to go for a run around the sort of like the bit of the run course?" I'm like, "Sure." Like I hadn't run for a long while, and I was overweight and not very good. I ran a little bit, and it wasn't good. And then I finished, and then I remember the few hours later and the next day I couldn't walk. And then people, later on over this experience thought I'd done an Ironman. And I hadn't. I'd just done like probably about, I don't know, like a kilometer,
Right.
run. So
Because you were that knackered
I
after
was
the
I was
speech.
I could, yeah, I
Yeah.
was just, I hadn't ran. People say, "Oh, tough race." I'm like, yeah, but um, but I did, and Kai was laughing, the managing director of Ironman at that time in Europe, and so I was obviously quite embarrassed actually. And I said to him, I'm going to come back. All these things kind of like was compounding over this period of time. And I said, I'm going to come back and do your Ironman next year, because it was so far away from where I was that it needed that mountain to sort of really transform me. I needed something big, and that was the point where I'm like, oh my gosh, like and I was inspired by everybody actually as well. There's so many things that ingredient of that event, and the people doing the event, and the Ironman spirit, and seeing that finish line. And we all know that finish line is incredible. It was just like, oh my gosh, this has to be it. So yeah, it was it.
So you decided that this was going to happen in a year.
Yes.
Did you go about that by yourself? Did you just decide, right, here we go? Had you had any biking experience or swim experience or anything even at that point?
No, I was a mountain biker. I'd actually done actually, well, I didn't put this on my thing, but I did the mega avalanche on a mountain bike. So that was, I don't know if anyone knows about that, but it's like Pic Blanc in Alpe d'Huez, and you start on a glacier on a mountain bike, and you just literally shoot down. So I was sort of like had done some events, but so I was a mountain biker, but I was not a road cyclist. So I was going from
Hmm.
baggies to lycra, and I always put road cyclists down, going, road cyclists, who are they? Like, they're just wimps. I'm a mountain biker, like,
Yeah.
and I fitted in with a mountain bike. I was heavy, overweight, and I'm like, I had the momentum downhill, but put me in lycra. I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's easy. Just got to ride on a flat. Anyway, so but I wasn't a swimmer. I couldn't swim really. I could do breaststroke, and I couldn't run. So I kind of had to go from learning to swim. And I observed a lot of people in the swimming pool for a long period of time. And it was embarrassing initially, where I was. And then I kind of like, the biking was sort of okay. But I got
Mhm.
to realize, being on a road bike, for a long period of time, it hurts your ass
Yeah.
and your back. And then I just had to learn to run. I remember I was doing 3K, my first 3K. I was running, walking. Well, when I say running, I was really jogging, walking, and then yeah, I couldn't run it for about 3 or 4 days after that. So I was really at the basic level.
So you built yourself up really from zero to hero in a year. You went from nothing to Ironman. That must have been some feeling for you to be reaching that red carpet in Frankfurt. Then that year later, a different man altogether.
Yeah, I literally was, but I think along the way, as we all probably find, before the event, I was lucky to find, a few people. One person particularly, Lars Ronning, who's a crazy Dane, but just a magical human being, very caring, but also very obsessive about his own equipment and Ironman. He'd done one before, and is a bit of a nutcase, and he was really kind of like guiding me a lot and supported me a lot through that journey. So I think everyone has to have someone
Hmm.
that through that, but I think for me it was a case of, it actually gave me structure, and I had to get outside, because you can't fake an Ironman. I made a commitment. I signed up. I said I was going to do it. And I was going to do it no matter what, because there was two things that needed to happen. One, I was going to be 38 years old at this Ironman that I was going to do for the first time, which was the age my father passed away. Um, and then also I wanted to change, so there was no question, and I needed to get out and do the work. You've got to do the work, So it forced me to get out, forced me to get away from the desk and the phone and work, and yeah, transform myself. And I lost something like 4 stone.
Really? That's
Yeah.
a big transformation. Tell me about the other transformation, because I know that whenever I completed my first Ironman, and I have obviously haven't done as many as you, but it changed the way I thought about myself. Did you find that that was something that you had experienced? Did you view yourself differently? I know that earlier on we were talking and you had indicated that you felt, mentally that things were getting on top of you. This, I assume, maybe helped to sort of put some of that right.
Yeah, it did. Absolutely. It gave me a different focus. It gave me a different purpose. But the purpose was on myself. And then I could be a better person, which I could be better for my family. I could be better at work. I was just finding myself actually better because I was processing a lot of information when I'm out on the bike and out on the run. So yeah, absolutely. I kind of like started to feel so much better and I was motivated. I was really motivated. I was really excited, and it used to make me smile inside when I was starting to feel better in terms of like, my fitness from swimming, biking and running or doing brick runs or whatever it is. And I'm thinking, and people talk about a marathon. I've done a marathon and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to do a swim, bike, and then I've got to do a marathon. And I can't just do a marathon. I've got to be a biker as well. And not just a biker. I've got to be able to do 112 miles. And I've also got to swim for that, so it's kind of like they gave you this sort of superhero feeling. You'd never, unless the person was sort of like someone who had an ego and you want to shoot them down, but you'd never say like, oh, I'm doing this. But inside yourself, you knew how big that task was, and how much you needed to do, which was super motivating. And then at the event, yeah, I mean, being at that start line, and my mum was there, my wife and my son, who was about 5, 6 years old then, and yeah, we all know that start back then. It was a mass start, and you don't train. No training day is an Ironman. Your training day on an Ironman, or your Ironman is your full training day. Putting it into practice, a lot of unknown, and you just get to feel this feeling through the event. It's just amazing the mind, you just sort of like you end up having such mental strength and capacity to break things down, and you have this process of breaking things down and just putting into small bits and then getting through these different challenges. But I remember the run. It was a 4-lap course, and we get the bands on the on the run. But I remember getting off the bike, getting into the run. I'm thinking, I've done the bike. I've got, if I walk the marathon or jog, I'm done. But I've still got to get through. And I remember starting, and I had no bands. And you see someone with a band, you think, I wish I had a band. I wish I had a band.
Yeah,
And then you go
totally.
through, you get a band, and I got a band. And then you sort of like thinking, I wish I had 2 bands, and then you're getting through. And I got the 4th band, but I remember getting that 4th band with a lap to go. And the whole emotion on that last lap was just, I don't know whether I'll feel that again, because that emotion was in that sort of way. Obviously having children and other things sort of like make, birth and death makes you feel different. But in terms of this kind of feeling, I don't think I'll ever get that feeling again. I was just, the work that I'd done in a year, the transformation that I'd had in that year, and then being in this Ironman, which is just built up to be this massive challenge. And then I'm on the last lap, 38 years old, coming into that finish line, knowing I've done the work and I'm different and I'm better. And then you get to the start line, you see your son there, you see your mum who lost her husband, and the father, of her sons, see her son at 38 years old cross the line of
Mm.
something significant. It was and Frankfurt, I don't know if anyone's done Frankfurt, but the finish line is very, very long. It's massive TV screen, and it's very well got a big production there. And it was just amazing. It was just amazing. Sorry to ramble on that.
No, don't apologize. No, that was a fantastic explanation to that, and I've got goosebumps listening to you because there's a bit of us that becomes sort of emotionally overwhelmed. Might be a way of describing it because as much as we're happy and content that we've actually managed to complete the distance, we've suddenly learned something about ourselves in that moment. That for me it was about self confidence, perhaps self worth, answering questions and queries around self doubt and things like that. And to cross the line and to be given an Ironman medal meant like, holy shit, if I put my mind to something, I can actually do it. I mean, if I've just done that, if I've
Yeah.
just completed Ironman, I can do anything.
Yeah, and it is that, and just to like maybe make you laugh a little bit, but the funny thing is, when you say you get your medal, I nearly didn't get a medal because the day before, on the Friday, well, sorry, I think it was the day before. Yeah, I think no, the day before that, it was the race was on the Sunday, I think, and on the Friday, I flew out to Frankfurt on the Thursday. I then had to fly back to London on Friday to do a big presentation. And then I flew back to Frankfurt, and I missed the race briefing. And it was my
Right.
first Ironman. And I got to the finish line and someone handed me my son. And I
Right.
ran across the finish line with my son.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't know that was not allowed. And it's a disqualification for health and
Oh
safety.
shit.
So I
Right.
was like, and
Outside
people were like,
assistance.
yeah, yeah. So I was just like, it didn't matter because I think, but saying that, I was the only one in the event that got a photo of their son or their child, crossing
Oh,
the
that's
finish
cool.
line. Don't I mean I think I'll keep my medal. It's too long ago that people are going to sort of like so, but thankfully I didn't get disqualified, but I did finish it.
No, that's really special. You completed that for your dad, and then your son was there with his dad. So
Yeah,
it kind of was the way it was supposed to happen, really, wasn't it?
absolutely. When you say that, when you said that, hadn't thought about that, but it may have been something upper level that
Yeah.
did that because I was 9 years old when my dad passed away. So
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was you never know,
No, that's lovely. That's lovely. Tell me this then, Keith. After finishing Frankfurt, newfound belief, a new, slimmer, leaner version of you. You decided then that Ironman was something that you were going to stick at. What happened in your head, or what notion did you take that you would want to do another one, and then
I
maybe
think.
another one, and
I think.
possibly another one?
I think as you say, Mickey, like there was this inner belief that was just sort of like I don't think you can explain it really because you just feel this sense of achievement and I know it's corny and it's one of the strap lines of Iron Man, like where anything is possible. But I think we all go through the training and go through like those impossible days where it's raining, it's miserable, it's hard, it's work, and you got work, and we've all got work, or we've got families, and we've got these other commitments, and it does seem impossible. But then you think, oh my gosh, this is possible. I can do anything. I think you mentioned like a little bit earlier, and I did feel that. I thought if I can physically and mentally overcome where I was and achieve this, I can do anything because this is
Mhm.
hard. And I also fell in love with it. So I also didn't want to go back to where I was. But another thing that happened to me was that I've never ever been so productive and free in my mind than when I was training and when I'd done this Ironman because I was out training, I was away, I was processing things. I didn't. I literally feel when I'm training, I'm like meditating. I don't mean to,
Mhm.
but I just like lose myself and I just think of things and solve things, and I don't mean to, but it's obviously helping me. And when I'm working or I'm back home, I'm good, and I like that version. So I thought to myself, well, if I can just set myself that big hairy audacious goal every year, it's kind of like a milestone or a point every single year that I need to be in a good place to be able to complete it. Because as I say, you can't fake an Ironman. You
No.
have to be prepared for it. So it just kept me in check, you know. So every week, every month, every year, I was consistently in check, and that's what I wanted to be, is
Mhm.
consistently in check with what and where I wanted to be.
I wanted to have a chat with you about Lanzarote. I completed Lanzarote this year, earlier this year, and
Congrats.
yeah, you talk about it tough, how tough Ironman is, and Lanzarote, for anybody that's done it, knows that it's tough. And you've done it 5 times, Keith. Has it been as tough each time, or has there been a time? I remember whenever I was speaking with Chris Wilde, he talked about the year when there was no wind. He called it Iron Man Light. Were you lucky enough to be involved in that one, or did
No, I've
you?
never been in a light version. No, no.
What
So
is it about Lanzarote then? There's a pull. There's a wee pull there for you in Lanzarote. There's something magical about it, really, isn't there?
yeah, I think it's the spirit of the island. Maybe I don't know whether everyone else feels that, but you know, people go to Club La Santa, people know Club La Santa, and I stayed there, and then you've kind of like got it's like this very positive environment. I feel there, and they say it feels like Hawaii, with sort of like obviously being volcanic island. The community really buy into the event because I think it's important from a economy perspective, and they love it. And it just feels magical. So the first one, and they always had the strap line, is the toughest in the world, and we all want to we all want to do that, right? That's why we want to do it. So I
Hmm.
think when you go and do the toughest in the world, you feel you're really like, an Ironman is a battle in itself, and every course is a battle. But I think Ironman Lanzarote, with the wind and the hills and the heat, it is a battle upon a battle upon a battle, and you're
Hmm.
fighting all of it. So even going downhill, you're fighting that downhill, as you all know.
Yeah.
It's just the whole bike is a battle, and then you're getting off and it's hot, and and I don't know whether it's people that who are like us. It's the suffering. I kind of like it. um, uh, yeah, so I think the whole kind of like dynamic of it. Plus, I think the volunteers are really amazing because a lot of them come from Club La Santa. I just feel like it's really tight, and you've got Kenneth Gask, who was obviously who was the major part of Ironman Lanzarote, and I think he sort of like spread this magic dust over the whole kind of like feel of it, you know, and the
Hmm.
people, and everyone bought into it, and they felt his magic and the magic of Ironman, and the island. So it just, yeah, it was special.
It's an amazing event. I did say in the podcast when I looked back and reflected on my journey that I would never do it again, but I think everybody knows at this point that that isn't going to happen. Like I think I will be back at some point. Sort of banking on the missus not listening to this particular episode, so because I may or may not have already signed up for something next year already. So we'll just keep that between us. Um, one of one of the other things then, Keith, which is quite interesting too, is that you got to wear the old colours of Great Britain as well. You're representing your age group. Talk me
I
through a wee
did.
bit about that. That must have
Yeah, I
been a
did.
special moment.
It was, and I didn't expect it, to be honest. People, you know, I didn't really know about age group and British triathlon and the rest of it, but I remember turning up at Weymouth 70.3, and they like it was, and I'm not the best swimmer. I still am not, but I think the swim got shortened because it was an absolute crappy day, as I hear it was this year as well. But it was a crappy day, and I done a bit of the swim. It was shortened, so that I kind of like was up in the field a little bit. I didn't really know, but then I went out on the bike. It was raining. It was wet roads, people were puncturing, it was slippy, it was horrible. And I remember before I got on my bike, or in the transition before you swim, I had tubulars on. I remember the valve came off, and I had to put so I didn't know whether the tire would just go.
Hmm.
But I thought to myself, okay, it's not going down. I've got no choice. I'll just go with it. So I got off the swim, got on the bike, and I thought, let's just like smash this thing out. Like, let's just see how it goes. Cause you know, I thought the tire was going to go any time. So I thought, let's just get it done. And, I got it done, but I think like I'm quite used to bad weather. I've got quite good bike skills, like from the mountain bike days. I don't mind a bit of rain and that sort of stuff. So I got through it. And the run was good. So then I qualified, to if I wanted to represent GB. So I did, and I did what was it, Ibiza, and I also did an event in Spain. So yeah, I was very proud to sort of like get all of the try get with GBR and my name on it, and yeah, that was a special experience to wear the flags. Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. That's something that I aspire to, but I'm going to have to wait realistically till I'm in the 65 to 70 age group category, and that's only on the basis that some of the lads in my club hang up their tri-suit before then, or arthritis comes and damages their knees, because I'm Joe average, but I think I have to stick at it for a while before I can get the colours. Um, Outside of triathlon as well, I suppose triathlon was maybe a springboard for you with regards to pushing yourself and reaching new limits and that belief and the endurance piece. But it led you into the dark and murky world of ultra running.
Yeah.
Where did that come from, or how did that all kind of get started? What was I? Because I have this wee notion in me that I would like to do an ultra at some point, and I think it's
Yeah.
only because I've done Ironman. So, in the spread of, well, if I can do an Ironman, I could do an ultra. I mean, how hard could it be, right? So,
Yeah.
was it something
Yeah.
similar?
I think it was, I think it started, part of what I do is I still work in technology, and the technology that we build has always been about how do we get people into activity and events and raise money for charities. So I've always been around impact for an individual, but also impact in fundraising through our technology. And I've always been a fundraiser myself. So through COVID, when that was there, um, I did a virtual live stream triathlon in my home because couldn't go anywhere, and I live streamed it, and I raised loads of money for Pancreatic Cancer UK, and that gave me an idea. Then the next year, I kind of like, well, I can't do a triathlon again, so I kind of thought, well, okay, well, I do 240 miles on a turbo, which took me about 22 hours. And I did that for charity as well. And I did it properly. I did it on a proper course, with all the virtual stuff and all hard and hills and all the normal stuff.
Brilliant.
And
Yeah.
then I live streamed that, raised a load of money. And then I thought, what's next? And I started kind of falling in love with this creative fundraiser, being a do-it-yourself fundraiser and creating ideas and surprising people. And I liked all the production side of it. So then the next one was doing 100 miles on a treadmill.
Oh,
So I live streamed that as well, and I had people calling in and supporting me all through it was 100 miles within 24 hours.
uh-huh.
You can see there's a thing about 24 because 24 people are diagnosed with pancreatic cancer every single day. So
Okay.
trying to do things with 24. So I did the ultra marathon, 100 miles on a treadmill, which was mentally very difficult and physically very difficult. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought, this running, this sort of slow stuff. And then I was sort of like, I wasn't falling out of love with triathlon, but I was kind of like thinking to myself, I don't know, it's quite, I don't know, like, there's a lot of gear and it's quite intense, going for speed. It's all about for me, it was all about the time and doing better. And I thought, this slow stuff is quite nice.
Mm-hmm.
So I did the 100 miles, and then I thought, well, you know what? I think I'll try and do an ultra. So then I Started to sign up to a couple of ultras, so done Snowdonia, and what that I learned from that is, I achieved what I wanted to achieve. One was do the endurance, but also I started at 4 o'clock in the morning, and you go to the top of Llanberis and see the sunrise, and it's beautiful, and I was lucky with the weather. And then you go through the whole day, you're suffering, and it's hard and it's brutal. You battle nutrition. It's still difficult, but it's a lot slower. And then I saw sunset. Then it went pitch black. You got just your head torch going through the mountains, technical stuff. You're running through that, and then you get to sunrise again. And I just fell in, and I wanted to experience that through the night, like the
Hmm.
whole 24 hours outdoors. There's no fake news. It's just me and the mountains. Yes, it's an event, and there's other people there, and you're getting looked after, but they're not taking you through the distance, you know.
That's right. Yeah.
But I wanted to experience all of those elements outdoors, but I also wanted to experience something about myself as well. And that's what it's all about, really. At the end of the day, is like, I think you can learn a lot about yourself when you suffer, um, and ask yourself questions, and I enjoy it. I really do. Sorry, I shouldn't say I like suffering, but I think we all do, really, don't we?
I don't know. Yeah, I suppose we do. Yeah. Well, we certainly like looking back on it and reminding ourselves of the suffrage. And then we give ourselves a wee pat in the back. Go, it just reinforces I can overcome that. I can overcome the small things in life. If I can deal with that, I can deal with the stress or this deadline with work or this bereavement or whatever it may be. So there's something about a link. There is definitely a link with the physical suffrage and the normal stresses of life. Kind of maybe aren't as daunting as they would have been pre Ironman, I suppose.
Yeah, no one wants to suffer in their normal life, but
Yeah.
I'm very lucky that I choose to go and do it. But I think the choosing to do it is probably maybe a privilege, but um, it's kind of like I want to learn about myself, and I want to
Yeah.
see stuff, and I want to hear things. I want to meet people. I want to see parts of the world and be at the top of a mountain and see how I can get there. It's just this, and I think that kind of goes when you've had someone, and like your mum 7 years ago, when you see someone you love go away, you do reflect, and you go like, I want to make sure my time on this planet is well worth spent. And I remember, and part of this, like, they say, I remember I've got this mantra and I've got this thing. It's not my saying. I forget whose quote it was, but um, life is not about the amount of breaths you take, but life is about the amount of moments that take your breath away.
Oh, lovely.
So,
Yeah.
I think that's true. So you've only got one life, and I'll tell you what, I'm not going to waste it,
Hmm. Hmm.
especially if I'm fit and able. So, and I'm going to do as much as I can to experience and do things for other people as well.
There's also something about experiencing life. I mean, we choose our lives. I mean, we choose our own destinies, and people that have completed Ironman and other sports as well. It's not exclusive to Ironman, but people that have tested themselves and pushed themselves come to understand that they have this ability to push themselves to places that they never thought that they would be able to. And whilst they're suffering, there's a sense of being alive. You know that
Absolutely.
you're alive when you're in pain. Like
Yeah.
whenever I got all these tattoos, there's nothing quite reminds you that you're alive whenever there's someone jagging a needle into you.
See, you're
So there,
braver than me.
yeah, so there's something about that, isn't there? That you're experiencing the full sort of spectrum of life
Yes.
rather than just sitting in the same seat in the same house watching the same shows on the same evenings eating the same food from the same restaurant. I used to call that wallpaper existence.
Yeah,
um
absolutely.
I've stripped that wallpaper and I'm painting them metaphorical walls with god knows what crazy ass colors and wacky designs, but that's what
Yeah,
life's about, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you don't do that, then I think you're a fool. And there's no excuse. You're seeing so many people inspire other people that make things possible. Because really, if you put your mind to it, and sometimes there's creativity, it has to be there. But find something. Everyone can find something. You just got to look out for it, and also be around pretty amazing people as well. Because I think one thing is I enjoy about the endurance side is that I like the solitude of it, because I work in an environment that's very social, in terms of like lots of calls, and you're leading businesses and teams, and there's lots going on, and so that solitude is really, I know I need that. That's a fuel for me, and
Totally.
a recovery for me as well. But also in that process, you can choose and also support others. So, for example, at ultra, you meet. That was what was nice about it, is that you're running and jogging, and you're going up the mountains, and you're meeting and talking to people, and you're supporting each other, and it was a very different feel for me, that, and I like to experience those different dynamics. So Ironman, ultras, I don't know what's next, but I think I'm quite happy with what I've got at the moment. But yeah, you just got to go and do it.
I want to just bring you back a wee bit because whenever you were speaking there about your charity work, you had mentioned that you did a live stream triathlon for your first thing. How did the swim happen in your garden? Were you in the bath? Were you just lying on the lawn pretending? How did you simulate the swim at home in lockdown from your house?
So remember, it has to be shaped like a swim, and you
Okay.
have to entertain, right? So
Yeah.
you're trying to pull the audience in. So I actually got a plank of wood on the floor outside. I put a bungee on the skateboard,
Okay.
and fixed it, and then I put a wetsuit on, and then I would like paddle the to the skateboard forward for the resistance, come back, and then pull again, and then my son was then, and my wife was spraying water over me.
So I was going to say, yeah, it's throwing buckets of water at you.
But
I
I
can.
still did it.
That's definitely a swim. I mean, that counts, doesn't it? Like you've got the wetsuit on, you're soaking, and you're knackered when you're finished.
Yeah,
That's
and I still
class.
had to get the wetsuit off and then go on the bike, and yeah, the bike was on a turbo, and it was in lockdown, and then I did a run. So yeah, it was great. Everything I raised, I think it was something like 86% of all of that money came through that live stream.
Brilliant.
It
And
was it was insane.
I can see now why people donated because plenty of people would pay money to watch a man lying on a skateboard with a bungee cord and having his family throw water at him because in his head he's swimming, isn't he? Like, jeez,
Yeah.
did you have the goggles and all on too?
I did, of course I
Did
did.
you? And the
Yeah,
swim cap and the whole lot.
yeah, I did. I had it all.
Oh, matey, brilliant stuff. Oh, that's class. I've just got such a mental picture going on in my head now. It's kind of bonkers. Somewhat
Yeah.
scary, but absolutely amazing at the same time.
I,
But
and people, and the bike. Then it got real. Then I did do the bike, and I live streamed my course. I shared my course on my live stream, and the donation panels, and so yeah, the people could see I did start working hard after that. I'm not saying the skateboard wasn't hard work. It was probably more dangerous than hard work, but yeah, still got to work out.
no, that's brilliant stuff. Um, what about what about the rest of the Ironman events that you have completed? Because we worked out that you've completed 11 full distance Ironman.
Yes.
What's your kind of favorite event over the years? I know your first
Oh,
one's obviously very special, but
yeah.
and each of them, I guess, each of them are. unique in their own way. But is there any one of them or two or three of them that you're thinking you should definitely do that one?
I think obviously we talked about Lanzarote, and I think that would be something everyone's got to do. But I think it'd be cheating if I said that. So I'd say Copenhagen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could say Roth because I've done Roth, but personally, I preferred Copenhagen.
Uh-huh.
I think it may be for a few reasons. One, the swim's really nice, and I think it's really spectator friendly in terms of the swim. The bike's beautiful. It's not completely flat, and it's got a great atmosphere. But I think the run with a 4 lap course around what I think is a beautiful city, it just went so quickly. Um, and it's convenient. The Danes are crazy. They're very friendly. They're very nice. Great city for family to go and see. And I really enjoyed that event. And I think another reason for it, I really prepared. I was trying to go for a sub 10.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and uh, I got in really good shape. And the bike, I disappointed myself on the bike and the swim, but the run, I felt it's the first time I did an Ironman marathon where I thought, this is great. I'm feeling so good. I mean, I'm not like I wasn't like a proper pro or anything like that. And I know there's so many people go under sub 10, but, it really, I felt really good on the run. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was the first time I'm like, yeah, this, yeah, I'm putting effort in, but this, I don't, not doing nowhere near the Ironman shuffle. I kept pace consistently all the way through,
Brilliant.
and it felt amazing. And my family were there as well.
That's my goal now. My goal is a very simple goal. It used to be that the bike scared me with regards just to the distance and the duration of the bike. I'm not a strong cyclist, so my bike takes a long time. And then it was the run because I've just got off a bike. Now my goal is to complete the marathon in the way that I want to, not particularly fast, but just to maintain my pace throughout and complete the full Ironman in the way that I want to be able to do it. So
Yeah.
that's what my goal is. So I'm going to have to keep going now. You see,
Yeah.
this is where you find yourself.
It
You
is. I'll
know,
give you a little tip as well, though. What I
do shoot.
realised is that some of the Ironman, many of them before Copenhagen, I mean, I did get in shape as well, but I realised that I hadn't properly read the instructions on on my energy drink. So for many years and many Ironman, I was putting one scoop into a drink, and really you should have three. So I
Oh,
was getting to the,
okay.
so I was running out of carbs. I was running out of energy, and I'm thinking, oh my, and I thought it was fitness, and part of it probably was, but I remember someone saying, are you taking enough carbs? And then I thought to myself, let me just read, because I was just sort of like, yeah, scoop, it's whatever. I didn't really look. If anyone isn't looking at their nutrition plan and looking at their carbs, look at them, because it bloody makes a difference if you get it right.
That's where I could be getting gassed. Could
Yeah.
be. The last one actually in Lanzarote, I struggled with my gut. I was in cramps for a long time, and really, really struggled to take anything in, and it may have been the reason that I felt so ill on the run. apart from the apart from the heat and the wind and everything else that was going on, and the
Yeah.
smell of burning rubber from the airplanes landing on the runway. There's a dodgy out smell of shit as you go out that road as well. But I don't know. We'll blame the carbs. Yeah, that
Do
that
it.
sits that sits easier with me that it wasn't my fault. It was the carbs.
You need a
I
sponsor.
Yeah, that's it. 100%. There was another thing that I wanted to put you through, Keith. Was one of the things for me was to be a better version of myself, so that I would be a better role model for my boys. And I just wanted to link in with you with that, and it was just a lovely moment that I'm able to picture in my head with you and your son, in Frankfurt as you carried him across the finish line on the red carpet. A magical moment. Um, there's there's something just nice to be able to feel a bit of pride in being that type of dad, you know, maybe than maybe the person that you were before that. Does any of that
Yeah,
kind of make sense with you?
it does. Yeah. I think you want to be present.
Hmm.
And I think when you're not, uh, I don't know, when you're not in a place where you feel your true version of yourself that you're happy with, maybe you get distracted and you focus on the wrong things, you know, yeah, for whatever the reason. But I think having one being active and as you get older, looking after yourself and your children and your family see that and they see you going out doing the work, whether it's raining, sunny, hot, whatever it is, you're still doing a day's work and going out and you're consistent, you know, you're committed. I think that's a good sign, but I think also in the same token, the parallel to that is that you, as I've described earlier, you become clearer in your mind. You release your anxiety on that run or your stress on that run or that bike ride. So I felt like I've always been present then with my son because
Yeah.
I can spend time, I can chat, I can talk. He understands my passion as well as I understand his passions.
Hmm.
Um, even to the degree we try and share things now. Like we've done a half marathon together, which was London Landmarks half marathon. It was his first half marathon. We've done Winter Run 10K. We've done some events together, and then even this year I did the Swiss 100 Alps Ultra, and he and I went on a 10-day road trip. You know, we went through France. You know, drove to Switzerland. We stayed together. Then we sort of like done the ultra. He come sort of like as soon as I finished, or he come to the start line really early. He got up, you know, and then he'd come to the finish line. He knew I was there and took back, carried a bag back and made sure I was all right. And then we sort of like had dinners and then we went the opposite way through the other part of Switzerland, went to Brussels, etc. all the way back. Um, but we did 2,000 miles together, and it's like but the anchor was the event was the point, but actually the point was getting to there and that conversations in the car and being in and he's around those environments. And I think it does, whether they want to do it themselves and go and do an Ironman, who knows? It's not the point, but I think it's just that they want to see their, I think every child wants to see their parents happy, healthy, and then have a good environment at home. Um, so I think it's just trying to provide the best foundation possible for your children, but that has to start with sort of like you being okay. And I think you've
Hmm.
got to look after yourself. So I think there's so many wins there. There's so many wins, you know, for yourself and for your family and inspiration and showing that anything's possible.
Absolutely, yeah. Just the importance about getting some time to yourself, focusing on yourself, you know, asking yourself challenging questions and being brutally honest and you know, identifying where you could do a wee bit better or you know, release that wee bit of stress if you're maybe not quite as narky or not as sleepy or not as whatever.
Yeah,
And that's a wee bit that this lifestyle gives us back. We probably don't acknowledge it to the extent that we should, but you know, we're more emotionally available to our families whenever we have spent that time out on the bike or on the run, you know, and put some of the demons to bed in our heads.
absolutely.
So we come back and we're feeling a wee bit more, we're ready
Yeah,
and
absolutely. And people say, "Oh, is it not selfish?" But the thing is the funny thing is, I think it might be harder with two or three children, but we've got one child. But like, I used to take my son to drama, um, and it was at 10 o'clock. I used to drive him there. Then I used to park the car. He was there for 3 hours. He loved it. And then I used to go for my long run, you know, and then on the Sunday I get
yep,
up early, you know. So, and then my wife went to the gym. The son was there, so it was all. But it was all working. But I would go here. I said, right, you drive there. I'll meet you there on the bike. You know,
yep,
you just get creative. And in those days I used to ride to work as well. You know, rather than get the train. You know, you just I think people don't realize that actually you can get creative and it doesn't have to really interfere with your family. It actually can be really good. And also, that separation and I think one thing that's really important for everybody is just to, even if you've got a partner and a family, I think it's really important that as an individual, whether you're a father or a mother or whoever you are, you still have your passion. You still have your thing that puts that spark inside you that makes you feel alive, because that is good for your life and it's good for others. So I think everyone should find their spark.
There's a lot of people that have this notion that people that set aside time for themselves is selfish. And I would always challenge that. And the word that I use is protective,
Yeah.
because it gives me an opportunity to mend myself. You referred to it earlier on as like it's your meditation, and you can
Yeah.
process things, you can get things done. And I, like you, have a very demanding social aspect to my job where I'm working with people all the time, and listening to some quite harrowing information and stressful material all the time, all day. So it's protective
Yes.
in that sense to get out and to get all that stuff processed, to silence it all down, to re-stabilize yourself, regulate your emotions, and come back a different man. It's like hitting a reset button. And like you, when one of my kids is doing his martial arts, I'm out for a run, and then when the other one's doing this, I'm going to go on the bike here, and then and up in the morning. So there's ways and means around it, So
Absolutely. And you need it. You need to look after yourself to look
tell
after
me
others.
this: with Peguera on, what day are we on? We're on Wednesday, so this is Wednesday. The 3 or 4 days to go, and
Yeah.
Peguera is on Saturday. What's the plan of attack for Peguera? We're going to go out and take in the scenes and have a look around you, nice and leisurely. Or are you going to go at it like an absolute animal? What's the plan?
I don't know. I, 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 I don't know. It's whatever turns up on the day. I haven't done my last Ironman or Ironman distance was Challenge Roth in 2024, and that was 6 weeks after an ultra in Snowdonia. So I couldn't run that well.
Uh-huh.
But the thing is, I really enjoyed it because the pressure was off. I knew I wasn't going to do any decent time, and I actually was I actually really enjoyed it. So this week I haven't done anything like this for about 18 months. So I'm really excited for it. I've been
Mm-hmm.
putting some work in. Um, I've kind of re-fallen back in love with it after being in an ultras for a while, and I'm really excited to go and do my first triathlon this Saturday. So I don't know. I think I've been doing all I've been doing lots of long bikes, and I've been doing some speed work after the bike. I've got my carbon shoes.
Oh
The
yes.
only thing I haven't done is I haven't tried the tri suit on for 18 months, or the wetsuit. So I hope it still fits.
Fingers crossed that the mice haven't got at it
Yeah,
in the shed.
yeah, exactly.
You get a nasty surprise when you put that on. There's no crotch in it or something
Yeah,
like.
I don't want any balls out. No, I'm going to go balls
Definitely
out,
not.
literally.
Shit. Tell me this just before we go. I want you just to throw it out there. You can be as philosophical or as flippant as you want. But what advice would you give to anybody who was like you were before you started? Whenever the very very top of our conversation, we talked about you. Whenever you weren't at yourself, you were overweight, you were lethargic, you were kind of in a bit of a rut. What would be your advice to get people up and motivated and getting after a healthier lifestyle?
My gosh, that's such a difficult question, but a great question, because I need to try and keep this concise. Find something that you feel is a challenge, and then find some connecting pieces around it, whether it's a YouTube or someone that sort of like is inspirational, that's sort of like doing it, so you can follow them and see their journey. And see how they're doing it. But find a big challenge and find these connecting things around it that kind of you can watch stuff and see it and start getting immersed into it. Then I would just sign up, just pay the money, sign up, because then
Lock it
you're in.
in. Yeah.
Lock it in. Don't make excuses. Go do it. Say, right, I'm doing it. Sign up, pay the money. And then I would break it down into progressive marginal gains every day, every week, and be patient and be ambitious but roll into it, like, in a process. But I would say find a big challenge and then sign up.
Brilliant stuff. I'm curious to find out if there's any more full distance Ironmans in Keith. And I'm thinking that this experience at Piguera might just light another fire under your ass. Time will
I've
tell, I
already signed
suppose.
up to Hamburg.
Oh, happy. There we go. Brilliant stuff. So Hamburg in 26 is on the horizon. Are the
Yeah.
ultras parked then for now, or have you signed up to any more of the big ultra events for next year?
My training's fully into gearing up for Ironman Hamburg, but I do have the Arc of Attrition in February, which is a 100-mile ultra in Devon or Cornwall. So yeah, so I've got that, but my training will be triathlon specific, and I'll just get through that ultra because I made a mistake by signing up to it. But I'm still
Well,
looking forward to it.
yeah. By your own advice, you've locked in, and now you're fully committed, whether you like it or not. You just have to go through your own process now and break it
Yeah,
down and get
exactly.
your wee gains, and get on with it, get it done. Great stuff.
Absolutely.
Keith, you've been a legend. It's been great fun chatting to you, and thank you very much for coming on to the podcast. Some solid advice, and thanks for being so open as well. Some lovely stories there, and you have a great race in Peguera, and I'll get all the guys from Oma to give you a high five on the run course.
Brilliant. Well, thanks, Mickey. Thanks for the opportunity. Hopefully, I haven't rambled too much. And good luck, everybody, in all of your journeys, and make sure they're meaningful.